Hey everybody, this is Perch. Trust is a funny thing. A couple days ago, Chris Arant, he was the editor-in-chief, does the job at Newsarama. And then he went off and he's doing different things. Where does he work for now? I think he's with Reed Pop. Yeah, that's right. Um, he did a post. So all this basically, I think, started when the owner of Newsarama left Newsarama somewhat suddenly, I guess. I mean, people were describing it like this. It was a sudden change, but it didn't feel surprising to me. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to figure out why. It just felt like it felt like a likely shuffle of what was going on. I think generally speaking, a lot of people run the sites, and I don't know Newsarama, which got swallowed up by what Games Radar. Um, you could kind of see a lot of this coming. But anyway, he leaves. He leaves, and then there's a whole bunch of drama around that. Weird, kind of weird backfighting from a number of different people around that topic. I guess there's no love lost between that individual and some of the other people in comic news. I guess I don't know. I heard a story, and then I heard a second story. Very completely different stories, but both all the same kind of. It revealed that there was some conflict. I guess let's put it that way. But Chris comes up and says, now would be a good time to note if there's comic journalism you like, you should support it financially. They offer memberships, take donations. If they offer memberships, take donations, do so. If they take ads, buy ads, or encourage your company to. If you wait for perfect, you will be waiting a long time. And that last sentence, I don't know, it didn't sit right, I guess. Now, absolutely, great is the enemy of good, and there's or perfect is the enemy of great. I don't whatever. There's a lot of different sayings on. Basically, the idea is that you shouldn't. It's not that you're settling. It's just that if you wait for everything to be absolutely perfect for you, you're not going to find it, and that part of the experience is dealing with flaws. So I get it, but it was a weird. It was a weird comment. Wait for perfect to be waiting for a long time. It didn't feel connected to the rest of those. Basically, if I'm chopping up his tweet there, it's you basically can summarize it this way. It's comic journalist websites are not making much money. Please give them money. Don't expect perfect. It's like I would have left that last sentence off. I don't know. Maybe I'm expecting perfect from this tweet. Anyway. I still maintain like with comics and this it was like there was a sandwich of a tweet. So he writes that, and then he puts in a bunch of handles of people you could give money to directly, like Comics Beat, WWA, Panel X Panel, Comic Book Herald, Sketched Comic, etc. And in some cases, I not to go into some of those people, but there's a couple of them have, let's just say, severely misrepresented this channel, particularly the Herald has, and not just by a little, but by a lot. Look, if you're listening to the show right now, I'm going to assume that and let's put it this way: if you're listening to this channel right now, and you like some of those websites, which is fine, you should like whatever you like. I'm going to assume you're not a Nazi, right? I actually think it's safe to assume nobody listening to this right now is a Nazi, since Nazis were the name of a enemy combatant force back in the 40s. And whatever we're dealing with, whatever horrible, awful people we're dealing with now, and we definitely are dealing with plenty. I don't think Nazi is the right, but anyway, I'm splitting hairs. Nazi is just a nice, convenient term. It doesn't really seem to go away, by the way. In the 80s, or you're watching Indiana Jones, and they're fighting the Nazis, and then sometime early 2000s, it's like, what if there were Nazis frozen in ice? And then here we are in 2023. It's like Nazis, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like we need to discover some kind of alien race so we can get some new villains into the mix. It feels like that. Like Nazis entered the public domain, and so we're just scraping that one over and over and over. Whatever. I understand. I'm being a little facetious. Anyway, so he lists some of these guys. But my point is, if you like, say, Comic Book Herald, and you're listening to the show, I don't think you're a Nazi, but according to statements that some of these guys have made, guess what? You are. So, I guess I shouldn't expect perfect, right? Anyway, the last tweet though is what I want to talk about. He said, if you get your comic news exclusively through social media, ask yourself if you trust the source inside that social media. Think about any biases that might be present, especially with direct sources. And this statement is, sure, you should ask if you're getting news, you'd ask if you trust the source. If you should evaluate biases for sure. Where I'm getting confused a little bit, is what that has to do with the rest of the tweet. I mean, is he talking about himself? Is he talking about other comic journalists? I mean, on that list? Because, like, if you're asking about a bias, I would say, yeah. How many of these groups are basically underpaid? Meaning, like Heidi McDonald recently said, they're like looking to bring some people onto the beat, but that there's really no money to pay them, so it's more about exposure. But one of the gigs, it's like one of the things they kind of bribe people with to get them to make content is like, hey, we're going to give you free comics. You're going to be able to review comics. You're going to get free comics. You get comics from the publishers. You're getting free comics. But in a world where you're running a news site and you're getting free comics, isn't that a bias? I mean, seriously, it is, right? I mean, you're like, when I look at some of these sites, and I'll go back to the New 52 time, and IGN would gush about every single New 52 book. Just everything was perfect. They like nothing got below an 8 for a period of time. And then it came out that DC was providing the IGN staff with comps of all of the comics. And, maybe that's a coincidence. They're just providing free copies of all the comics. It just turns out the comics are just fucking gold. But that seems like a bias. And then on top of that, he's like, if you're getting your news exclusive from social media, that's where most of the people that you're mentioning do their business, is social media, via either websites or podcasts or Twitter. I mean, some of them have websites, but most don't. Most of them are all, So again, who is he talking about? If he's talking about himself and the people that, he's asking you to donate to, then my hat's off to him. I think I appreciate the honesty. Basically, like, hey, you should fund comic journalism, but keep in mind some of the people I'm asking you to give money to may have a bias and you shouldn't trust them. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, that checks out. Thank you, sir. But that, it's just, but what he meant, clearly what he meant in that thread was, support comic journalists. They're better than people you're hearing from on social media, which may or may not be telling you the truth. That's what he meant. I think that, again, the challenge, though, is that we've had way too many instances where the fact check or the stuff on social media winds up being more accurate than what goes on the website, like by a lot. We've had way too many instances of stories getting buried or kind of pushed aside that turn out later to be true. I'm going through it a little bit right now with this whole advanced solicits business, when it's gotten impossible to deny at this point, as comic shops and retailers are getting material and notice on comics in July and August, and it's February. Like, it's no longer like, no, Perch is making that up. I mean, look, there's facts. Like, several of you are now, publishing those solicits on your website. So, I mean, like, you're seeing it too. I know you are. But there's just, I guess, the trouble I have with this entire statement is, first off, I think if you're going to come hat in hand wanting money, that's fine. Nothing against that. And I think that the whole idea of like, hey, don't forget, a lot of this content you're getting for free, it's costing, money for people to make, and, you want to keep supporting them or they'll go away. Sure. I have nothing against that statement. That's fair. If if this, if I need funds to continue this show, I might go, hey, if you want me to keep going, then you need to find money somewhere. So it's fine to ask. So I think that's great. I mean, I don't know about great. It's not perfect, but I'm not waiting for perfect. I'm taking his advice. So I'm not waiting for that. But if I was to ask for money, I wouldn't simultaneously ask for money and then try and shit on someone else. I would just keep those two things separate. It'd be like, if you're a homeless person on the street, you're panhandling there, and you're like, hey, I need some money to buy some food today. I really need some food. And it's good that you give money to me, because the other homeless people around here are fucking liars. They all live in a mansion, and I'm actually poor. So give the money to me. That'd be a weird approach. I don't know I would get money. And I don't think all that would fit on a sign either. It'd be kind of funny. I actually, that has to be the next evolution of signs that the the unhoused can have, that says something like, hungry, please give food. All the other homeless people are rapists. Give the money to me. I don't know. No, that's a bad idea. But anyway, I guess I'm bothered by the whole thing. So I'm bothered by the fact that it's hey, come give some of these people money, who, like, to a fault, all of them, like, I get, including Heidi. So Heidi's on that list. Heidi McDonald, Comics Beat. And Heidi, if you go to kind of her profile and you look at kind of what she's saying, she is absolutely trolling people about the comic industry and some of the numbers. She's absolutely trolling them intentionally. Like, you can look at it and she's like, well, proved it's and again, if that's how you want to spend your time, it's your pastime you want to deal with it. I mean, that's up to you. You could do whatever you want with your life, but you're on social media trolling people, and then somebody's saying they should give you money and not to trust what people say on social media. Like, it's, again, that statement is either so on the nose, it's actually, impressive, or there's a level of mental disconnect there. And this is the right answer. That just defies all sanity. For what it's worth, I think if you have something that you like, be a Patreon, be funded. Sure. If you have something you like, well, I guess you have a choice. If you want it to not go away, then yeah, consider tossing some money. It's, that way, it's not a bad idea. If you're in a position where you're asking for money, maybe you don't use that moment to give other people the finger. Maybe just, humility is, it's a crazy concept, but that's actually what you want to do. And then, in terms of what you should trust, I'll give you my perspective. Trust me. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually kidding. I don't want you to do that. I specifically don't want you to do that. Let's see if Heidi or Chris or any of those people, Comic Herald, will tell you what I'm about to tell you. Don't trust what I'm saying. I'm giving you a perspective. The smart thing is if you take that and then go source it for yourself. Go kind of see what you think. See if it lines up with what you're finding. Blind trust is insane. Nobody should do that. It's not healthy. You don't put all your kind of decision making processes. Don't give that away. Don't give away your power. Don't give away your ability to make some of these decisions. Go figure it out for yourself. Particularly when it comes to things like reviews, or is a comic good or bad or whatever. I don't care who's telling you. YouTuber, one of those journalists, some rando on Twitter. I don't care what. You could read that stuff. You could take it into advisement and then go make up your own mind. That's the right thing to do. Absolutely. Don't trust anyone. Spoken like a true Gen X. Trust no one. Mulder was right. Anyway, there you have it. Actually, one last thing before I sign off. Completely unrelated to all this. It is this. A long time ago, I don't know, several hundred videos ago, I mentioned that I was not a fan of the X-Files one and done episodes. A lot of people got pissed about that. Or not pissed, just, disagreed. Don't want to over-exaggerate. And so I want to clarify that statement just a little bit. I liked a lot of the one and done episodes that were on the X-Files. I did. They were good. I think, arguably the show just should have been that. However, my point there, and I didn't make the point well, which I acknowledge, my point was that once the X-Files established itself as a serial show, basically that there's an overarching agenda and a plot that was going on, once it created the ongoing kind of narrative that it had, the one and done episodes became, you're basically watching them to enjoy them, but they became irrelevant to the show. The problem was that if you showed up and they didn't have like the cancer man and the guys with the black goo in their eyes and all that kind of stuff, if it wasn't dealing with the main story, it wasn't important. And so that was my comment. I liked a lot of those episodes. I did. There were some really good ones, particularly in the first and second season. There was a lot of really good one and done episodes, but they were meaningless to the overall show because of what the show did to itself. That's the point I was trying to make. I think a little bit of that's happening now. Jerry Duggan just recently put out a tweet like, "Hey, the Hellfire Gala is a red issue. That means it matters." And I think that's a horrible idea for a comic writer, an editor, anybody to say, "Hey, some of these, I know Hickman did it. This is one of the things I thought was stupid that Hickman did. It was he's like, these issues really matter. They're red issues. The others are just regular old black issues." And that is first of all racist, but I'm joking. But I think that's a horrible message to send of like, hey, these comics actually matter. I mean, because the unspoken part is the second half of that sentence. These other comics do not. That's, I think, the flaw. Anyway, there you go. Sorry for running late there, but I wanted to clarify that. And yeah, there you have it. Perfect is the enemy of good, and that is that perfect. Anyway, don't go for perfect, which is why you listen to this show where nothing is perfect or frankly that good. Thanks for listening.